our Raghupathy sir, not coming out from a contest without having at least 2 trophies in his hand. എന്നാൽ ഇദ്ദേഹത്തെ കുറിച്ച് ആർക്കും അറിയാത്ത ചില രഹസ്യങ്ങൾ അടുത്ത കാലത്ത് എനിക്ക് അറിയാനിടയായി. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ നല്ല പ്രായത്തിലുള്ള ഒരു കൂട്ടുകാരനെ ഞാൻ പരിചയപ്പെട്ടു. ഈ അദ്ദേഹം ദേഹത്ത് മുഴുവൻ പെയിന്റ് പഠിച്ച് തൃശ്ശൂർ റൗണ്ടിൽ കൂടെ പുലി കളിച്ച് നടക്കുന്ന ഒരാളായിരുന്നു എന്ന് ഇതൊരു സത്യമാണ്. ഇദ്ദേഹം തൃശ്ശൂർ വടക്കേ അങ്ങാടി പുലികളി ടീമിന്റെ ക്യാപ്റ്റനായിരുന്നു. അന്ന് പിടിച്ച പുലിവാലാണ് ഇന്നും അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ കൊള്ളണം. He is going to mesmerize us with his speech. When I am weak, I am strong. ഞാൻ ഈ ഇദ്ദേഹത്തിനോട് ഇതിന്റെ ട്രാൻസ്ലേഷൻ ചോദിച്ചു, മലയാളം ആയതുകൊണ്ട്. പുള്ളിയുടെ മലയാളത്തിന്റെ പരിജ്ഞാനം വളരെ അധികമാണെന്ന് നമുക്കറിയാം. പുള്ളി പറഞ്ഞ ട്രാൻസ്ലേഷൻ എന്താണെന്നറിയോ? ഞാൻ വീശിയാൽ ഞാൻ ശബ്ദനാകും.
Very good evening. I have to respond to the Punikali comment. You know, long time back, I was the manager of the Vadakangadi Punikali team. And lo and behold, the municipal councillor of Vadakangadi was a gentleman by the name of Satyan. And more interestingly, Satyan's wife was a homeo doctor. So when we were all on the truck and we were vigorously shaking the puliwals, we saw Satyan running around pouring some colorless liquid into the box of the various pulis. And so when I asked Satyan, what is this that you're pouring into that box? He said, "Yenda Sami, marundu." So I really thought the homeo doctor had given some colorless liquid, which this guy Satyan was pouring into the puli's mouth, and the pulis were becoming more and more aggressive. The puliwal which we caught some 35 years ago perhaps is still continuing in Dubai. Because in Dubai all you have is Satyan's puliwal and nothing else. Right, let's start now. Am I a dog? No. Well, this is a very strange question, isn't it? One, you don't expect a question from a speaker like this, and you think the speaker is really going off his bonkers. Am I a dog that you should come to fight with me with sticks? Was what a giant screamed. Some 850 years before Christ was born. And in the midday sun, his helmet was shining and his breastplates glittered as he moved. Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters, dear little children, very happy Onam to all of you and good evening. Good evening. In the heart of Palestine lies the vast expanse of the Mediterranean plain, a place of breathtaking beauty, surrounded by hills with their ridged slopes tantalizingly sloping towards the center. And in the center of this beautiful plain, a plain of vineyards, of wheat fields, and of grasslands, stood a tall and burly giant with a sword in his right hand, brandishing up and down, and a shield cradled in his left. A historic battle was about to begin. And can you guess who his opponent was? It was a lad, a thin and fair boy, with blonde curly hair. And all that lad had in his hand was a staff and a sling draped over his shoulder made of sheepskin. When this giant saw this lad coming towards him on such a historical battle, it enraged him more, and that's when he cried, "Am I a dog that you should come to battle with me with sticks?" is what he asked. The opponent smiled, a mischievous smile. Here was a battle of unequals, an asymmetrical battle of the strong and the weak, the mighty and the meek. a battle of Goliath the giant with David the shepherd. Whenever we hear of such contests where there is an irrational allocation of advantages and disadvantages, of strength and weaknesses, we have since then kept calling it David and Goliath, an unequal match. And as human beings, we tend to pass a judgment that yes, the Goliaths would win. Let's take a few examples. You know, in the United States, with a GDP of something like $16 trillion, were to pose economic sanctions on a small country like Nepal, with probably 0.1% of the US GDP. What would the contest be called? David and Goliath. Let's say the Indian army, with all its might, some 3 million, if I'm not mistaken, soldiers, invades the Maldives. It would be called David and Goliath. Personally, you know, when we were seeking admission for my daughter in the US, I was only looking at the top universities, MIT, Carnegie Mellon, Harvard, Kellogg's. You get carried away. I was more interested in the ranking of the university and not her ranking in the university. I was looking at the Goliaths. Now today is Teachers' Day. There's a beautiful example. Any teacher, either you're a teacher, no man, still running a teacher? So very happy Teachers, very happy Teachers' Day to you. What would you say is the ideal size of a class? 40 students? 30 students? What would you say? 20? Right. So what we are saying is that you have an ideal size of 20. But you know, there are so many schools in India and abroad where they boast of just 5 children or 6 children or 10 children in a class. They charge some very heavy fees. You want 20 children because you want to have a nice environment in the class. There is a minimum size required. But still, as parents, we opt for the more posher schools because we go for the Goliaths. So is the case that people are after the Goliaths of the world. So does it mean that in an asymmetrical battle like this, that Davids have no hope? Let's see. Let's deconstruct the entire theory which we just have visited and then test the hypothesis by going back to our story. The book of Samuel of the Bible describes this battle between David and Goliath. Come to me, cries Goliath. He's just calling it. Come to me, and I shall feed your flesh to the birds of the sky and the beasts of the land. So what is Goliath having in mind? He's very large, he's powerful, he's strong, and so therefore he knows that if it is a hand-to-hand battle with this boy, he can crush him in no time. You know, just like you would swat a fly on your hand. He's inviting him, and he's enraged that the boy is not coming closer, because that is what he is used to, a tough, close battle, and he could, with the vicious grip, snuff the life out of the boy. But what is David? What does he do for his livelihood? He is a shepherd. And what does a shepherd do? A shepherd takes care of his sheep, flock. And what does he have to do? He has to protect his flock from the marauding animals like the wolves or the tigers or the lions which could attack the flock. Would you go for a hand-to-hand battle with a lion or a tiger? You would never do that. So, by habit, he has perfected the art of slinging. He's a slinger, and that's why he has the sling draped on his shoulder. So, whenever there is a danger to his flock, he would put the stone in his sling and then whip it up and down and send the projectile right at the animal and drive it away. So that is his strategy, long distance battle. So when Goliath is infantry, David is artillery, is more adept at shooting the missiles. This is completely a surprise to the giant. Quickly David bends down and picks up a sharp stone, puts it in a sling, and then whips it around and sends this stone like a bullet aimed at the only exposed part of Goliath's body, and that is his forehead. The stone strikes him there, and Goliath collapses, crashes down like a tree, and the battle is won. There are so many stories of the underdogs, of people disadvantaged in asymmetrical battles, who through their innovation, who through doing things on which they are adept at, become successful. There is a beautiful story of, this is a true happening, 1980, when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. There was so much of interest in the Winter Olympics, where the Soviet team, which had not lost for probably 14 years, were challenged by the US team. And the US team were all full of youngsters, youth. And there's a very famous coach called Herb Brooks, he died recently, who was in charge of coaching the US team. The Soviets had never lost in the last 14 years. But Herb found out that the only way to defeat the Soviets was to increase the stamina of his team, because he found as a pattern the Soviet became tired during the last 10 minutes of the game. And so therefore his boys were only given stamina training. He knew that they could never match the Soviets in skill. So use your alternate, which is building up your stamina, and lo and behold, history was made. The US team defeated the Soviets. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, all of you have been Davids at some point of time or other in your lives, or you will be Davids. Do not get awed by the giants, by the Goliaths. All you need to do is to think of what you are good at and what is it to your advantage. And surely you will succeed. It doesn't matter if the odds are heavily stacked against you. As the Bible beautifully says, I delight in hardship, in difficulty, and in weakness. Because when I am weak, I am strong. Oh.
സേവ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ ഇതൊരു ബാറ്ററി കഴിഞ്ഞു ബാറ്ററി കഴിഞ്ഞു ഇത് സേവ്
എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായത് ശരിയാണോ
സേവിങ് ഒന്നുമില്ലല്ലോ